true reflection of us. So when, by some happy accident, joy comes along, there can be this sense of panic because we don't know how to recreate that joy intentionally. We know that we are not driving down a road that's going to naturally produce more of that. Versus when we are experiencing growing pain, it's a lot easier to use discernment about when to indulge in happiness and joy and contentment, because we know that we are driving down a road where those feelings are going to naturally get spontaneously recreated over and over, because the choices that we're making for our lives are aligning us with the type of future that we actually want. So when we are resisting reality, happiness and joy feels very scarce because we know that we kind of found it by accident. Versus when we are embracing reality, there's a sense of abundance and relaxation around positive feelings, because we know that we've been able to use our discernment about what matters to us in life to design an overall experience of living that is increasingly right for us and aligned with what we want, and that over time perpetuates more and more joy and happiness and alignment. So we don't have to panic and grasp onto joy every time we feel it. We can let ourselves experience it lightly and let it go when it wants to leave, because we know without a shadow of a doubt that that's going to come back based on the type of life that we are designing for ourselves from the inside out. Fourth distinction between shrinking and growing pain. Shrinking pain, or the pain of resisting reality, keeps you connected to your shoulds in life. So if you are not able to actually tune in and get clear on what you want out of your life and what really matters to you, the only way you're going to be able to make choices is to design kind of a list of things that you think you should do, or a list of things you think you should want, or a list of rules that you've internalized from society or your friends or your family members, and to try to guide your behavior based on those shoulds.
So early, so high, so early, take your time, never hurry. You don't mind, I won't worry, you'll be fine. Say the word, say the word. Yeah, walk in the crib, my dick smelling sexy. I'm getting on my best, my response, I'm cash on check, bread and butter, take a number, place a bet to the realest motherfuckers, ain't you mad? So early, so high, so early, take your time, never hurry, you don't mind. Cash on check, bread and butter, take a number, place a bet to the realest motherfuckers, ain't you mad? You don't take your time, never hurry, you don't mind. It's fine, say the word, say the word. Go here when I'm in the crib, we're not
Always thinking about what we should.
know how crazy I get. Cash on check, bread and butter, take a number, place a bet to the realest motherfuckers, ain't you many? I'm getting things, location, this is location, straight, crazy, I gave every single fucking house. Yeah, so high, so early, so high, so early, so high, so early, so high, so early, take your time, never hurry, you don't mind, I won't worry, you'll be fine, say the word, say the word, so high, walk in the crib, my dick smelling sexy, so high, on my breath, so early, when it's so high, you can clean up the smell, take your time, don't run around, you don't mind, I won't worry, I get cash or check, bread and butter, take a number, place a bet to the realest motherfuckers, ain't you mad at you can't tell me nothing, no discussion, bro, it's so disgusting, throwing up a whole bunch of blood on an empty stomach, got headaches in my brain.
It's going to include difficult decisions, and it's going to include, at some point, trading in something we want right now for something that we want more later. When we are living in alignment with ourselves and our authentic wants and our authentic yeses and nos, things that we need to trade in the short term end up paying off in the long term, because we end up getting closer to the life that we actually do want. Versus when we live life through our shoulds and that shrinking pain of disconnecting from who we actually are and what we actually want. Anything good that we give up can feel like a tremendous, existentially pointless sacrifice.
Dreidel is a fun game of chance to play with family and friends during the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. To play, you need a dreidel,
giving anything significant up in the service of it, including our time, our attention, our youth, right? Growing pain is the pain of being kind of pulled closer to the life that we want in the future, versus shrinking pain is the pain of just losing things that matter to us without gaining anything significant in return. even if it's literally significant, like status or money. If that's not the thing that we really care about on kind of a soul level, it's not going to feel satisfying, no matter how much we get of it. And final distinction we're going to talk about today between growing pain and shrinking pain is that shrinking pain over time eventually makes you feel like you are going endlessly in circles, versus growing pain over time makes you feel like you are endlessly expanding your point of view and continuously opening new doors that lead to new opportunities and new perspectives and new ways of looking at things and feeling things. When we are not addressing the true underlying problems that are creating symptoms in our lives, symptoms like depression, relationship issues, unhealthy habits, addictions, whatever it is, when we do not look at the truth that is underlying our drive towards those things, we end up returning back to them time and time and time again, because we are dealing with the symptoms, not the root cause of the symptoms. So shrinking pain often ends us up in this pattern of trying to break out of negative behaviors, negative situations, negative relationships that are draining us, only to find ourselves back in the same type of situations in a slightly different form, not too long ahead in the future. This is what happens when we don't address the reality of what is driving our behavior. When we do address that reality, when we look at the parts of our lives and our development and our experiences that are hard to look at, it might feel really painful in the short term, but it allows us to find the accurate solutions that will help us truly resolve those issues, get over them, and get out of our own way. So a lot of this is stuff like psychological cleanup work, right? If I'm projecting all of my problems onto my romantic partners, onto my work, onto the world, I'm going to be endlessly cycling through this slew of kind of fake problems. It's not that those things aren't actually painful or don't actually need to be addressed, but if the underlying problem is that I can't accept something within myself or within my own worldview, so I'm constantly projecting it onto other people and trying to resolve my issues with other people, instead of looking inward and figuring out what I'm trying to resolve through all of these messy situations, I'm never really going to get to the core of it. I get to the core of it when I figure out what is it that I'm trying to resolve externally that I actually need to figure out internally. How do I accept that these judgments I'm always making about other people actually have a lot more to do with what I haven't accepted inside of myself and my own shadow? And once I'm able to do that and make friends with the parts of myself that I once found really difficult to accept or acknowledge, then I'm back in reality. I'm not constantly distorting my thinking and endlessly, unconsciously creating these psychodramas for myself. And when I have that out of the way, I can actually focus on what matters to me in life. I can actually look at where I am right now without all of these projections of the past getting in the way. And I can work with reality as it exists for me today. And in reality today, at any point in time, there are endless things that feel exciting, enlivening, that we could seek out, that we could explore and discover and build new things out of. And so once again, the longer we walk down this path, the more we strengthen and grow ourselves. When we look at any given problem for what it actually is, and we're able to presence ourselves enough to look around and figure out what resources we have in our current lives to help solve that deeper, more underlying issue, we're able to be so much more creative than we are if we're denying the true underlying cause. Generally, a good sign that we're dealing with reality and not with some sort of symptom of an underlying problem is that we're able to find a lot of creative solutions to our problems. But when we're living from a place of fear and we're denying a lot of the reality of what's happening, our solutions are really limited, so we might find ourselves getting increasingly frustrated with the fact that we can't seem to resolve something and we're just going in circles with it. Aligning ourselves with reality means being able to accept when something is over, when something is not working, when there's some sort of pain or grief we need to feel. Being able to lay that to rest inside of ourselves and then recenter ourselves to whatever is available to us now. And the cool news is that there is always, always, always something really beautiful and unexpected waiting for us in the present if we can just make ourselves persistent and intentional about finding it. It's very unlikely you're going to find something you're not looking for. But to find the things we're actually looking for, we first have to arrive in reality and be willing to see whatever is there. All right, that's all I have to say for for today on the topic of growing versus shrinking pain. As always, let me know in the comments what's coming up for you as you go through this video, thoughts, feelings, questions, etc. And as always, I love you guys. I hope you're taking care of yourselves and each other. And I will see you back here again really soon. Actually checked in time and time again and noticed whether the things we're claiming we want not actually the things that are giving us more energy, so more vitality, and more often ends us up in this pattern of trying to break out of negative behaviors, negative situations, when we live in negative relationships that are draining our authentic only to find ourselves back in the same type of situations in a slightly different form not too long ahead in the future. Pain is what happens when we don't address the reality of what is driving our behavior. To the life that we actually want to address that reality. Deep embodied way. And when that's the way that we're operating, any challenge we take on becomes a labor of love. It might even the sacrifices that we end up making, but it allows us to find the accurate solutions that will help us truly resolve making sacrifices, get over them, and get out of our own way. So a lot of this is stuff like psychological cleanup work. Any path that we choose to walk down in life is going to include challenge, it's going to include difficult decisions, and it's going to include at some point cycling through trading in something we want right now for something that we want more later. Actually, when we are living in alignment with ourselves and our authentic wants and our authentic yeses and nos, something things that we need to trade in the short term, and I'm constantly projecting it onto other people and trying to resolve my issues of life that we actually, instead of looking inward versus when you live life through our shoulds and that shrinking situation, disconnecting, I'm never really going to who we actually are and what we actually want. Anything good that we give up, feel like what is it that I'm trying to existentially pointless sacrifice actually moving closer to something we actually don't accept. And so judgments I'm always making in our bodies to be fighting for actually haven't been giving anything significant in the service side of myself, including our time and more attention to do that and make friends with the parts of myself that I once found really difficult to accept the life that we want in the future versus shrinking pain. And the pain of just losing things that matter to us without unconsciously creating things significant in return. When I have that literally significant, I think actually if that's not the thing that we really care about, I can actually look at where I am right now without all of these projections and we have getting in the way. The final distinction we're going to talk about today between growing pain and shrinking pain, and in that shrinking pain over time eventually makes you feel like you are going endlessly in circles, versus growing pain over time makes you feel like you are endlessly expanding once again the longer we continuously opening new doors that lead to new opportunities and new perspectives and new ways of looking at things and feeling things. When we are not addressing the true underlying cause and figure out what are creating symptoms of life, symptoms like depression, relationship issues, unhealthy habits, we're able to be so much create as the truth than we are that we're denying our drive towards those things. Generally, a good sign that we're turning back reality into some sort of symptom because we're dealing with symptoms is that we're able to find positive creative solutions. So shrinking pain often ends us in fear after we're trying to break away from negative patterns, negative situations, negative limitations that our brain is getting increasingly frustrated back in the same type of situations, and we're just completely in circles with not aligning ourselves with reality. This is what happens when being able to accept when something is driving our behavior, something is not working. When we do address our reality, when we look at the parts of our lives and our development and our experiences that are really hard to accept, it might feel really painful in the short term. What that is, it allows us to find the accurate solutions that will help us truly resolve those issues, get over them, and get out of our useful. So a lot of this is stuff like psychological cleanup work. If you just start projecting all of my intention to my romantic partners, and it's very unlikely you're going to find something you're going to be endlessly cycling through this new kind of thing problems. It's not that those things aren't actually painful or don't actually need to be addressed. But the underlying today is that I can't accept something within myself or within my always let me know in the comments, constantly projecting it onto other people and trying to resolve my issues with other people instead of looking inward and figuring out what I'm trying to resolve through all of these messy situations. I'm never really going to get to the core of it. I get to the core of it when I figure out what is it that I'm trying to resolve externally that I actually need to figure out internally. How do I accept that these judgments I'm always making about other people actually actually have a lot more to do with what I haven't accepted inside of myself and my own shadow. And once I'm able to do that and make friends with the parts of myself that I once found really difficult to accept or acknowledge, then I'm back in reality. I'm not constantly distorting my thinking and endlessly, unconsciously creating these psychodramas for myself. And when I have that out of the way, I can actually focus on what matters to me in life. I can actually look at where I am right now without all of these projections of the past getting in the way, and I can work with reality as it exists for me today.